We live in the era of the hustle. Everywhere you look, there is a desperate performance of labor. You open social media and you see the 4 a.m. alarm clocks. You see the photos of laptops open on a Saturday night. You see the gym selfies captioned with, "Grind never stops." You see a generation of men who are obsessed with proving to the world just how hard they are suffering. They believe that this performance earns them respect. They believe that by showing their sweat, they are showing their value. They think that if they scream about their struggle, the world will reward them for their pain. They are wrong. This behavior does not signal power, it signals servitude. In the old world, the only people who sweated were the slaves. The only people who groaned under the weight of their burden were the donkeys. The king, the general, and the master never showed the strain. They arrived, they conquered, and they barely adjusted their collars. There is a concept from the Italian Renaissance that you have likely never heard. But it is the secret behind every charismatic leader, every genius artist, and every seductive operator in history. It is called Sprezzatura. The term was coined by Baldassare Castiglione in his handbook for courtiers. He defined it as a certain nonchalance so as to conceal all art and make whatever one does or says appear to be without effort and almost without any thought about it. In modern terms, hide the work. When you show the world your effort, you are inadvertently lowering your value. Why? Because human beings judge value based on scarcity and mystery. If I see you struggling to lift a weight, if I see you trembling, if I see the veins popping in your neck, I am impressed by your effort, but I am not impressed by your nature. I see a man fighting against his own limitations. But if I see you walk up to that same weight and lift it with a casual smile, as if it were made of styrofoam, now I am terrified. Now I am in awe. I don't see a man fighting limits. I see a man who has no limits. The grinder who posts his 18-hour workdays is telling the world, "Look how hard this is for me. Look how much I have to sacrifice to achieve this." He is admitting that the task is bigger than he is. He is admitting that he is barely holding on. He is asking for your pity and your validation. The master, however, presents the finished product with a shrug. He writes a symphony and says, "It just came to me." He builds a fortune and acts like it was inevitable. He executes a perfect negotiation and checks his watch as if he were bored. He is telling the world, "This is easy for me. I am bigger than this task." This creates a terrifying gap between you and the observer. When you hide the mechanism of your success, you create the illusion of God-given talent. Arthur C. Clarke famously said, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." The same applies to human competence. Any sufficiently concealed effort is indistinguishable from genius. When you reveal the sweat, you kill the magic. Imagine watching a magician. If he stops the show to explain exactly how he rigged the mirrors and where he hid the rabbit, are you still amazed? No. You are disappointed. You think, "Oh, is that all it is? Just a trick?" The moment the audience sees the mechanism, the wonder evaporates. They stop looking at you as a wizard and start looking at you as a technician. Technicians are hired hands. Wizards are rulers. You must understand that people do not pay for labor. They pay for the result, and they pay a premium for the feeling that the result provides. If you make success look difficult, people will think, "I could do that if I worked that hard." You bring yourself down to their level. You make yourself attainable. But if you make success look effortless, they think, "I could never do that. He is different. He is special." You elevate yourself into a different strata of humanity. This is why the hustle porn culture is a trap for the mediocre. It convinces you to commoditize your own suffering. It convinces you to trade your mystery for a few likes from people who are also struggling. Do not fall for it. Your struggle is your own. It belongs in the dark. It belongs in the early hours of the morning where no one can see you. The public should only ever see the victory. They should see the clean suit, the calm face, and the finished empire. Let them speculate. Let them whisper. Let them wonder if you are lucky, or if you are gifted, or if you made a deal with the devil. Let them think whatever they want, as long as they don't think you are tired. Because a tired king is a vulnerable king. And in this jungle, vulnerability is blood in the water. You must learn to treat your discipline like an iceberg. The 90% that is underwater, the discipline, the pain, the failure, the rejection, must remain underwater. Only the 10%, the visible beauty, should break the surface. The moment you start complaining about how cold the water is, you break the spell. The goal is not to stop working hard. The goal is to work harder than anyone else, but to have the discipline to silence your ego's need for applause. The amateur wants applause for the attempt. The master wants awe for the achievement. To achieve Sprezzatura, you must first kill the part of you that craves sympathy. You must accept that your pain is irrelevant to the market. The market does not care if you slept 2 hours or 10 hours. It only cares if the product is good. So why tell them about the 2 hours? It sounds like an excuse. It sounds like you are preparing them for mediocrity. "I worked really hard on this" is usually the preamble to a disappointment. "Here it is" the statement of a professional. By removing the visible signs of effort, you also protect yourself from envy in a strange way. If people see you grinding, they feel competitive. They think, "I can outwork him." But if you appear to succeed by nature, they feel helpless. You cannot compete with nature. You cannot outwork destiny. By feigning effortlessness, you demoralize your competition before they even get out of bed. They look at you and think, "He is just better." This is the foundation. You are not a laborer. You are a force of nature. And forces of nature do not sweat. Once you have accepted that your effort is a private matter, you must learn the practical techniques of concealment. Sprezzatura is not just a mindset. It is a tactical performance. It requires you to carefully curate the information you release to the world. The first rule of concealment is, never explain the difficulty. When someone asks, "How did you do that?" the instinct of the insecure man is to vomit every detail. He wants to say, "Oh, it was so hard. I had to call 3 favors. I stayed up all night. I almost quit twice." He thinks this makes him look heroic. It actually makes him look lucky to have survived. The master answers differently. He says, "I just made a few calls," or "It just came together." He simplifies the narrative. He removes the friction. By deleting the difficulty from the story, he implies that his capacity is far greater than the task required. This applies to your skills as well. If you are learning a new language, a martial art, or a business strategy, do not post your clumsy beginner phases. We live in a culture that encourages documenting the journey. This is dangerous advice for those seeking power. When you document your failures, you crystallize them in the minds of others. They remember you as the guy who fell down. Even when you stand up later, that image of the stumbling child remains in their subconscious. Practice in the shadows. Fail in the dark. Make your mistakes where no one can see them. Then, when you are ready, emerge fully formed. The world loves an overnight success. They love the idea that someone just appeared out of nowhere, ready to conquer. They don't need to know about the 10 years of darkness that preceded the dawn. The second rule is, delay the response. Quickness is often mistaken for intelligence, but in the realm of Sprezzatura, forced speed looks like panic. When you are asked a difficult question, or when you are faced with a crisis, do not rush to react. Rushing shows that you are disturbed. Rushing shows that the external pressure is moving you. The man with Sprezzatura moves at his own tempo. He pauses, he considers, and then he acts with fluid precision. This artificial delay creates a sense of control. It signals that you are not a slave to the clock. Think of the difference between a frantic waiter running around a restaurant and the owner slowly walking through the tables. The waiter is working hard. The owner is working high. The slower you move, the more time seems to belong to you. The third rule is, understate your preparation. You must always be the most prepared person in the world. You must know every stat, every weak point, and every variable. But you must never bring your flashcards to the meeting. You must internalize the preparation so deep that it flows out like conversation. If you are giving a speech, do not read from a script. Do not memorize it so rigidly that you sound like a robot. Learn it, and then loosen it. Throw in a pause, make a joke, adapt to the room. The preparation provides the structure, but the Sprezzatura provides the life. You want people to think, he is so brilliant, he just riffs on these complex topics. In reality, you rehearsed that riff 50 times in front of a mirror, but they don't need to know that. The gap between your rehearsal and your performance is where the charisma lives. This concealment extends to your physical appearance and your environment. The Italian courtiers understood that if you look too perfect, too groomed, and too stiff, you look like a tryhard. You look like you spent 6 hours in front of a mirror. That is vanity, and vanity is a form of weakness. Perfect style should look accidental. The tie is slightly loose. The hair is not helmet stiff. The office is organized, but not sterile. It suggests that you have style in your blood, not just on your receipt. It says, I look this good because of who I am, not because of what I tried to do. There is a profound psychological aggression in these behaviors. When you hide your hard work, you become a mirror for other people's insecurities. When they see you succeeding effortlessly, they cannot blame their failure on a lack of time. They cannot say, well, he just works harder than me. They have to confront the terrifying possibility that you are simply on a higher level of existence. This grants you a psychological dominance that hard work can never achieve. Hard work invites competition. I can work harder. Natural genius invites submission. I cannot be him. You want them to submit. You want them to look at your output and feel that it is untouchable. So, bury the evidence of your labor. Burn the drafts, delete the outtakes, wipe the sweat from your brow before you open the door. Present the masterpiece without the manual. Why is this so difficult? Why do we feel this burning urge to tell everyone how hard we are working? Why do we post the late-night timestamp? Why do we sigh loudly when we sit down? It is because we are addicted to validation. We are insecure. Deep down, we are terrified that if we don't show the pain, people won't value the prize. We have been brainwashed with a false equation. Suffering equals virtue. We think that if we suffer more, we are better people. We think that the man who bleeds the most deserves the most. To master Sprezzatura, you must sever this emotional connection. You must stop viewing suffering as a currency. Suffering is not currency. Results are currency. Nobody cares if the chef burned his hand while cooking the steak. They only care if the steak tastes good. If the chef comes out to the table, shows his burn, and asks for sympathy, it ruins the appetite. It makes the experience cheap. You must realize that your need to share your struggle is actually a form of weak ego. It is you saying, "Look at me! Look at what a martyr I am!" It is tiresome. It is heavy. People repel away from heaviness. They are attracted to lightness. They are attracted to ease. When you seek validation for your hard work, you are placing yourself in the position of a child showing a drawing to a parent. "Look, Mommy, look how much blue I used. Look how long I spent." You are asking for a pat on the head. A king does not ask for a pat on the head. A king does not need you to know how heavy the crown is. He just wears it. If you find yourself typing a post about how exhausted you are, delete it. If you find yourself complaining to a colleague about how late you stayed up, stop mid-sentence. Swallow the complaint. Digest the pain. Turn it into fuel, not noise. This is the practice of Stoic silence. It is the ability to endure the burden without leaking the pressure. When you stop leaking the pressure, you build internal density. You become solid. People can sense this solidity. They can sense that you are containing a massive amount of energy, but you are not letting it spill. This makes you magnetic. This creates gravity. Think of a dam. The water behind the dam is calm, but everyone knows the immense power holding it back. If the dam had cracks and water was spraying out everywhere, it wouldn't look powerful. It would look like it was about to burst. The hustle culture poster is a bursting dam. He is leaking his energy everywhere. The Sprezzatura master is the calm surface with the ocean behind it. You must learn to validate yourself. You must look at your own work in the mirror and say, "Good." And that must be enough. If you need the applause of the crowd to feel that your work was worth it, you are a slave to the crowd. And the crowd is fickle. One day they applaud your hustle, the next day they mock your burnout. Do not give them that power over your soul. Keep the struggle inside the walls of your fortress. There is also a critical strategic advantage to denying them this validation. When you don't complain, your enemies don't know where to hit you. If you constantly talk about how tired you are telling your rivals exactly when to attack. You are broadcasting your vulnerability. You are saying, "I am weak right now. I am at my limit." But if you work 16 hours and then walk into the room looking fresh, energized, and sharp, your enemies become paranoid. They look at you and think, "Does he ever sleep? Does he ever stop? Is he a machine?" You become a monster in their minds. They will eventually give up trying to outwork you because you don't seem to abide by the laws of biology. You have created a psychological phantom, an indefatigable rival, simply by hiding the evidence of your fatigue. Refusing to complain, you refuse to be humanized. And if they cannot humanize you, they cannot defeat you. Now, a warning. If you appear too perfect, too distinct, and too effortless, you risk creating envy so toxic that it becomes dangerous. Humans despise perfection. It makes them feel inferior. If you float too high above them, they will want to shoot you down. They will look for a reason to hate you, because hating you is easier than improving themselves. So, you must use the advanced technique of the controlled slip. This is a nuanced application of Sprezzatura. Occasionally, you must allow a small flaw to appear. But this flaw must be calculated. It must be a flaw that makes you relatable without undermining your competence. You might admit to being lucky in a small instance. You might make a self-deprecating joke about a minor habit. You might pretend to forget a trivial detail. This controlled slip acts as a pressure release valve. It allows the audience to think, "Oh, he is human after all." It disarms their envy. It lowers their weapon. But notice the difference. You are not showing the struggle of your work. You are showing a quirk of your personality. You are not showing the sweat. You are showing a dimple. This is exactly what Castiglione meant by nonchalance. It shouldn't look like a statue. It should look like a human. A statue is rigid and cold. A human is fluid and warm. When you execute a perfect maneuver and then laugh it off, or trip slightly on the carpet and smile, you add texture to your genius. You make your power palatable to the masses. You allow them to admire you without hating you. But never, ever let the slip reveal the core mechanism. You can joke about your coffee addiction, but never joke about your fear of bankruptcy. You can admit to being bad at golf, but never admit to being confused by your own business strategy. The slip must be cosmetic, not structural. The structure must remain opaque. The structure is the secret. Think of it like a high-stakes poker player. He might spill his drink. He might laugh loudly. He might act a little drunk. This is the Sprezzatura. It makes the other players relax. They think he is sloppy. They think he is distracted, but his eyes are watching every card. His math is perfect. His strategy is ironclad. The spill is the distraction. The strategy is the blade. If he sat there with a calculator, sweating and trembling, everyone would fold. But because he is laughing and spilling, they call his bet, and he takes everything they have. This is the ultimate manipulation of perception. You give them a small flaw to focus on so they don't look for the big strengths. You feed their ego by letting them think they saw you stumble, while you are actually sprinting past them. The controlled slip is not a mistake. It is camouflage. It is the art of looking harmless right before you strike. We arrive at the final state, the state of the silent ascent, when you master. Sprezzatura. You stop climbing the mountain with a pickaxe, screaming at the rocks. You start to float. Not because it is easy, but because you have internalized the struggle so deeply that it has become part of your physiology. The hard work is no longer something you do, it is something you are. You become the natural. And the world worships naturals. They give the promotion to the guy who looks like he belongs in the corner office, not the guy who looks like he is dying to get there. They give the deal to the negotiator who is willing to walk away, not the one who is desperate to sign. They give the love to the lover who is confident, not the one who is begging. By hiding your hard work, you signal abundance. You are effectively saying, I have so much energy, so much talent, and so much capacity that this massive achievement is just a small percentage of what I can do. That is the signal of a king. A peasant signals scarcity. He shows you every drop of sweat because he thinks it has value. A king signals abundance. He wastes effortlessness because he has an infinite supply of power. So, delete the drafts. Stop telling people how busy you are. Stop wearing your burnout as a badge of honor. It is not a badge. It is a shackle. Go into the dark. Do the work. Suffer in silence. Bleed where no one can see. And then, wash your face. Put on your suit and walk out into the light as if you just woke up. Make them believe it was magic. Make them believe you were born for this. And let them wonder, forever, how you did it. Because the mystery is the source of your power.